I actually told you a little bit about myself. This week I'm going to tell you a little bit more about myself, because how can I give nutritional advice? Well, I've been doing this for 25 years. I am the current director of the National Association of Sports Nutrition. The NASN is an independent organization that licenses and certifies personal trainers and sports nutrition professionals for the purpose of regulating the sports nutrition industry. So in nutrition and dietetics, there are several practitioners, there are several professionals out there. Most well known is a registered dietitian who gives medical nutritional therapy. There's alternative health practitioners like HHPs. There's naturopaths who give alternative therapies for conditioning or for medical disorders and conditions. And currently legislation is clamping down on giving medical nutritional advice. The National Association of Sports Nutrition, the organization I direct, gives non-medical nutritional advice. So we are the experts, the independent experts in body composition manipulation, athletic performance or performance enhancing, and recovery from exercise. So that's what my organization tends to try to maintain, an unbiased summary of research. So if you're interested in losing fat, gaining muscle, running faster, jumping higher, then we look at nutritional therapies and independent research to support that. And it's constantly changing. So, who can give nutritional advice? Well, anybody can give their neighbor nutritional advice, but regulated, credible nutritional advice should come from somebody who's got some kind of license or certification, some kind of education behind them. And the NASN actually fills that gap, because personal trainers aren't necessarily knowledgeable in nutrition, and registered dietitians aren't necessarily knowledgeable in sports nutrition or exercise metabolism. So we kind of fill a gap. That's the NASN. And some of you who are students at Mueller College who are attending the seminar tonight are actually using curriculum licensed by the National Association of Sports Nutrition. And by the end of your schooling, you'll actually sit for a board exam and get your sports nutrition license, your primary sports nutrition license. So my name is Jeff Cotterman, in case you didn't catch my name, and I'll be speaking to you tonight for less than an hour, I promise. Why did you come tonight? Just for the audio of the tape. Close the windows for a second. Just so you can hear me better. All right. So hopefully the majority of people that came tonight are actually participating in the challenge. You're looking for a change. You're looking to be better than you've been before, or you're looking to actually help your clients be better than they've ever been before. Both are win-win, right? So we're all after the same thing. Let's see if we can fight that aging process. Let's see if we can improve performance somehow, be a better athlete, have a better physique, have less fat, more muscle, more flexibility, more cardiovascular endurance, more other components of fitness. So everyone has a specific goal, and within that goal, there's a path, right? And there are several. Unlike religion, there are several paths to fitness, right? But some of those paths are temporary. And what we want to talk about tonight, especially in nutrition, not only effective nutritional therapy, not only what are the means to effectively burn body fat, gain muscle, enhance performance, and improve recovery, but what are strategies that are going to help you stay the course for decades? Okay, there are several athletes who have come to me in the past who've yo-yoed. Their weight is yo-yoed, especially if they're physique athletes or bodybuilders or models, pageant girls. These are typical contestants that have done nutrition and exercise strategies to temporarily get them to a place, and then they ultimately rebound. And that's bad for your health and not good for performance or your career as well. So what are some strategies whereby you can improve and then maintain that and actually develop an equilibrium around a new physiological state, right? Rather than just touch a weight or touch a body weight or a scale weight or touch a level of performance and then regress. Nobody wants that. So let's balance it and let's make the process enjoyable. The title of the nutrition seminar is How Do We Eat, or Strategies to Eat for Benefit and Pleasure. Okay, when I started my nutritional studies, talking back in the late 80s, so a little bit ago, I would eat, my eating was very polar. I would learn that certain foods were good, and I would pile on my spinach and wheat germ and wheatgrass and choke it down to the point that the meal would make me gag. Or I would peg the meter one other way and eat meals that were just decadent. Just chocolate decadence was the name of a meal at a restaurant in college. And I would go from eating super clean to just horrendous. Right? So I would eat to satisfy my taste, to give pleasure to the process of eating, or I would make it miserable and try to just eat what was good for me. And obviously that strategy didn't work. So until I found a nice equilibrium, until I didn't peg that meter to total hedonism or totally being Spartan, until I did that, I wasn't making results. I wasn't practicing what I was preaching. I wasn't becoming what I wanted to become as an example in the field. Okay. So what's your goal? Let's revisit that. Okay, so a little admin note. Raise your hand if you're in the challenge or you intend to start the challenge tonight. You're already in or you intend to start. Very good. All right. So, let's go to TriSystem.com. This room seems to have an internet void, so you're going to have to rely on screenshots rather than live internet connection. But this is a screenshot of the TriSystem.com or TriSystem.info website. And if you click on posts, you can actually see a video of last week's seminar if you missed it. And there's also places to get your log sheets. The way the contest works, as explained in that seminar, you got to amass a certain amount of points. And those points depend upon participation in a good exercise program, participation in managing your eating or logging what you eat, and then proper supplementation. We'll go over the technical part of that tonight. But admin side, you better be doing one of these. And verifying it with either an affiliate or with the TriSystem Center directly via text or email or just some way to prove that you're actually doing the program to get points towards winning the contest. Okay, if you're not getting regular emails from me, you have to go to the post menu or click on this here and then subscribe so you can get emails, regular emails about what's going on. And that's the way we communicate with everybody. If you scroll down, you can actually get text. Some people just prefer to get the text on their phone. You can also text you anytime there's an update. And that's from posts. All right. So, we've got to do somebody trying to get in the door. First step in changing your eating habits, changing your exercise, actually progressing in this, is to do an assessment. We'll teach you a little bit about how to do an assessment in a minute. But that's all facilitated through the TriSystem online program. So if you haven't gotten your online account yet, you better go and do that. If you click on or go to http, no www, just platinumclub.trisystem.com and put your name and your email and your phone That'll start the process if you don't already have an account with us. From the posts and the blog, you can download those log sheets. We have copies of them if you want them as well. And we also have food log sheets, so you can start logging your food. 3 ways to verify your points. I just went over that. See somebody in person that's an affiliate, have them log it on your own sheet, text or email. The text number is to the center is my iPhone. It's 619-757-7388. And then the new way, thanks to Alicia, you can text or email it to TriSystemChallenge@yahoo.com, and we'll actually have a folder there for you to log all your activity, including tonight. So a photograph that you were here tonight. So someone takes a little shot of this tonight. That would be good. So here's where the rubber meets the road. I'd love to say that phrase. Are you really ready to change what you eat? And for most, this is the most difficult component. Right? Jack LaLanne would say it's not, because he would say that exercising most efficiently is more uncomfortable than eating. Right? Eating, even if it's not as tasty as you'd like, is more pleasurable than making yourself uncomfortable and making yourself sweat. Now, I tend to differ with the grandfather of fitness. I think that nutrition is more difficult because you only have to make the decision to exercise once a day, if that, right? Less than once a day in 7 days. You have to make the right decision to eat right 4, 5, 6 times a day. So you have multiple chances to either get it right or get it wrong. So nutrition tends to be the sticking point for most people in programs like this. In times that you're trying to change, in times that you're trying to actually progress. It's not all about willpower, but it is about putting yourself in a willful state. Okay? So ultimately, we're not trying to peg the meter to the point where I'm just going to be so disciplined that my body's going to have no choice but to change, and I'm going to be miserable in the process. And as we discussed in the last seminar, last Friday, if you really are stressed out about it, if you're in a miserable state, you physiologically and psychologically, you won't progress well. Stress can actually inhibit results, even if you're doing the right things on the surface. Right? So we have to develop both physiological and psychological attitude. So physiological, we have to eat things that are going to promote optimism and promote resolve to do what we were attempting to do. And this is from last week, and I just said that. So we've got to do things physiologically, and that means we've got to exercise in a way, and eat in a way, and rest, sleep in a way that's going to promote a good attitude. And then we have to figure out how to manage stress, manage things that are, manage negative talk, manage the idea that you are not fit, right? Change that attitude. 2 weeks ago, I was on the San Diego 6, and I posed this question to the anchor. I pose this question to you guys too, right now. Generally speaking, right? So we have to sum your attitude up right now. Do you consider yourself a fit person or an unfit person, regardless of where you are? Right? If you're out of shape, but you consider yourself a fit person, then ultimately you say, okay, I'm not in the best shape that I've been in my life, but I'm generally a fit person, and so psychologically you will return to that state. Whereas if you're as lean as you can be right now, if you're a Calvin Klein model, you're ready to go, but you generally think in the back of your head, I'm really not a fit person. Then intrinsically, subconsciously, you say this is a temporary state, and you're going to return. You're going to regress. You're going to return to that unfit state. So psychologically, and that's why we develop these bands. It says, I will find my edge. every day. There should be some, if you don't have one, you need to get one, right, to remind yourself that we're on a quest to be better every day. And things like negative attitude, defeatism, self-talk that is bad can actually inhibit your results, even if you're a diligent exerciser and a disciplined eater. If you set out to eat 3 to 4 ounces of some kind of meat, of chicken or tuna, 6 times a day, right? But the only way you can really enjoy that is if it's heated and presented to you nice on a plate. Well, that's unrealistic, right? Most people can't have a sit-down meal 6 times a day, right? With a knife and a fork and grandma's best plates. It has to be compatible with your life and your goals. Now, if you're getting ready for a professional bodybuilding competition, and you weigh 250 pounds, 300 pounds, and you need to be less than 6% body fat, you need to be a single-digit body fat, it might take having to eat a certain way. But if you're at that state, then and you're in that competition, then hopefully you're in an environment where you can actually do what it takes to compete at that level. So we have to determine, okay, are my goals realistic? And then how does that really fit into my life? And that's the art of a good sports nutritionist and a good fitness professional. Right? The uniqueness that we're trying to teach both fitness professionals in this challenge and competitors is we've got to meet you where you're at. Right? If you're eating 2 fast food meals a day, and we immediately we discussed this last week. I'm just going to touch on it and build on what we did last week. But if you're eating 2 fast food meals a day, and you recognize that maybe going meatless and raw is very healthy, going from eating processed food at that level to eating only raw food, your body's actually going to rebel. Right? Ultimately, you can progress on this, and you'll do better to slowly wean yourself from certain fast foods and gradually change your diet. Right? Your body likes evolution, not revolution. Right? It will revolt if you give it too much to handle at one time. So it's a progression. Right? I've got a guy ready for a photo shoot just cutting back on the volume of frosted flakes that he ate. Right? He cut his breakfast down from 4 bowls to 2 bowls. You know what happened to his body? He lost body fat. Still eating frosted flakes and Whoppers. Now, it was a gradual progression, and obviously for the rest of his life, I don't think he should continue to eat frosted flakes and Whoppers. But it was a temporary state, and the change caused the desired result where he actually didn't feel deprived and got to a state where he said, okay, now how can I make it better? I'm not in jail doing this program, so I'm ready to make a change. So we need to know your starting point. Are you a frosted flakes person, or are you already eating steel cut oats in the morning, right? Cooked on the stove in a steel pot? So we've got to do that assessment, and that assessment starts with your login. So once you get your online program, and it's free for all contestants here. It's an expensive program that costs money for people that don't do the assessment. For you guys, for people in the challenge, it's free. Right? You log in and you do your assessment. And today's post directs you. There's actually 2 videos on today's post on what to do if you haven't done your assessment yet. Watch that video. And here's an overview. If you've already done the assessment, then here's how to find your program. We're going to use the program as a reference when we talk about nutrition in the next few segments. So the uniqueness to a program like this, the uniqueness for any fitness professional, is to find out where you are and then gradually progress. Now let's liken this to an athlete. So hopefully you've seen a World's Strongest Man competition, or you've seen people who are strong lift weights, right? And then you've seen maybe a bodybuilder, and they have an enormous amount of muscle and they're very lean. The bodybuilder is not necessarily the strongest man. Right? The strongest man is definitely not lean like a bodybuilder, right? But they both have a lot of muscle, right? Now their training style is different. The world's strongest man, or a strength athlete, or a power lifter, or even a football player, right, their goal is performance, not aesthetics, not how they look, how they actually perform on the field, or how much weight they can move. Their style of training, a strength athlete's style of training, which is less concerned with body fat, more concerned with performance, jumps and leaps and bounds. So they might do exercises where they start with a certain amount of weight, and then their next set, they almost double that weight, and their next set after that, they double the weight. So their intervals of progression when they're trying to improve strength are huge. Whereas the bodybuilder, who just has useless hypertrophy, just has muscle that's supposed to look pretty, it doesn't matter what it does, it just matters how it looks on stage. They move in very small progressions. They do supersets and giant sets, and they might change the weight 5-pound intervals or even 2.5-pound intervals. So if your goal is to progress and lose body fat and gain muscle, then the types of exercise and the types of progression you should do should be very, very small. Very small intervals. And if your goal is just performance, then maybe we can jump in leaps and bounds. So the most efficient way to get a clinical nutritional result is to figure out your nutrient and calorie needs, write a menu, and feed it. Here it is. Here's my lab rat. Here's what you need to eat. Go eat it. Right? Regardless of how it tastes, regardless of how you feel, eat this. This is what's nutritionally sound. Right? And now on paper, that's the quickest way to get there. But compliance is really low, because you might be going from 2 fast food meals to 6 organically grown, mostly raw meals, right? And that might be a shock to your body. So if we just say, okay, let's get rid of, or let's modify and change the liquid calories in your diet. Let's get rid of sodas and pure juices and things that you drink that have calories in them, and exchange them for calorie-free fluids. And that's the only change we make. That's just a minute change, but it's enough to make a difference. And most people can just handle one thing, right? So we get that wired, and then we just go on and change the next thing. So what we're going to talk about tonight is what's physiologically correct, but then keep in mind that don't do everything at once, because that's like sprinting a marathon. We should make small changes. And that small change for you tonight might be, okay, we figured out that I should eat about every 3 or 4 hours. I should eat 4 or 5 meals a day, and I'm only eating 2. Right? So maybe my only goal is to just add another meal to my regimen. Okay, so I just explained how to break through a plateau, and that is progression. All right, so you go to the login, and everyone should have their email and then some password. Initially, before you do your assessment, it's just a group of numbers, and then once you've done your assessment, you can change your password to something you'll remember, right? You click on that login, and this is the screen to go to. Don't go to any of these other banners. This is just the login screen. Use your username and password, get in, and this is what you'll see. So you have a dashboard or a home page for your program. And once you've done an assessment, what we've done at TriSystem is we've actually created a menu and a workout and a supplement regime. We've gone over your established goals, established cardio workout, given some medical alert or cover sheets if necessary. So you have this whole comprehensive program once you do your assessment. But this is designed to meet you where you're at, right? And software is software. Artificial intelligence is artificially intelligent, right? Or not. So, if you don't eat bread and there's bread on there, well then we need to adjust that. You can actually go in here. If you don't like what you see to eat and you don't like what you see to work out, you can actually go in and do your assessment again under My Profile and make adjustments. Right? You can print shopping lists here and you can edit this from the buttons on the bottom of the screen. All right, so what we're going to talk about now is the fundamentals of assessment. Okay, I've given you all this information. Now, what do I know about it? Or how are we going to shape a nutritional plan based on sound nutritional principles, based on the variables and information that the assessment has collected? So when you log in, I want you to click on this little window right here, Metabolic Profile, and that's what we're going to discuss next. We're going to zoom in on it. Right? And this is actually a person that's in here tonight. Right? So, when you take your body fat, we assess your gender, your height, your age, your ethnicity, and from that we can determine what's lean and what's not. And where you're most likely to burn in calorie is lean body mass. Right? So that's your organs, your bones where you make blood, bone marrow, and your muscles. So your muscles and your organs are the most likely place that you're going to actually burn calories. So from the quantitative amount of that stuff that you have in your body, we can determine your resting metabolic rate. Your resting metabolic rate is the amount of calories it takes for you to be. And this is the minimum amount of calories you should eat. So when you go in, here it is. This person, in order for her to exist, she needs to burn 1,360 calories a day. She needs to eat that to support that. So that's like a bottom line, right? So based on our lean body mass, we can figure out, okay, here's the minimum amount of calories in food. Here's the minimum amount of food we need to eat. Does everybody know what a calorie is? It's a measurement of energy in food, right? And it's a way we quantify food. Right? So it's a way that we determine the amount of food you need to eat a day is based on calories. So this person should be eating a minimum of 1,360 calories. Now, what if she's eating less than that? Well, then now we've got to say, well, listen, 1,300 is a lot of calories because I'm only eating 900. So she's in a state of starvation. Are we going to immediately give her 1,300 calories if she's eating 900 calories? No. We've got to gradually increase that as her metabolism improves. So, all things being said, hopefully she's eating more than this. How do we know if she's eating more or less? How do you know if you're eating more or less? Well, I've got you doing food logs. And we can use the software or use FitDay or meet with one of our affiliates or meet with myself, and we can determine how much are you eating. Right? So we figure out your baseline, and then we figure out maximum calories. Then obviously she can eat more than she burns. She burns about 2,100 calories, 2,091. If she wanted to gain muscle and was happy with her body fat, she'd eat over that. And if she wants to burn body fat, then she needs to eat at a calorie deficit. So here's the fundamental strategy. If you're new to fat loss, here's the fundamental strategy. It's not about the pill you take. It's not about how much exercise you do. You've got to create a minor calorie deficit. About 20% less is a manageable deficit for your body, such that you tap into stored body fat, preferably not muscle. Preferably you're not decreasing bone density or decreasing your muscle, not using those for fuel. Hopefully you're using stored body fat by eating slightly less. Now, that's the fundamental strategy for fat loss. So let's sum this up. If you eat less than you burn, then you should burn fat, right? Right. Wrong. Right? So, wrong, right? Wrong. Okay, here it is. If I burn 2,000 calories a day and I eat 1,500, that's a 500 calorie deficit. I should lose weight, preferably fat, right? End of story. What if those 1,500 calories come from one meal at lunch and it's a stick of butter? Well, I just messed it up big time, right? I took all my calories in at once, and I took them all from mostly saturated fat, 99% saturated fat. So I'm at a nutrient deficit, and I'm at an instantaneous, at one time, calorie surplus. So it's not just about getting a spreadsheet and saying, did I get all the nutrients and calories I need in for the day, and is it less than what I burned? It's about equally distributing those calories and nutrients over the course of the day so that there's an instantaneous surplus or deficit. And that is profound, right? You won't even hear that on college campuses, because they're still stuck on the daily requirement, right? But your body's like a thermostat. It's going to turn on the air conditioner if it's hot. It's going to turn on the heat when it's cold. So your body's only going to use fat for fuel if it recognizes that, yes, I have enough nutrients and I have just enough calories to get me through, except I'm a little short. Okay, I can expend fat calories here because I know that I'm going to eat in 3 or 4 hours. Whereas if you fast for a long period of time, your body's going to shut down and refuse to give up the fat, fearing that we're going to have to live off this for a long period of time. So meal frequency serves 2 purposes. Meal frequency trains your body to recognize that we are going to eat frequently, to allow you to tap into stored body fat. And then meal frequency is actually intermittent fasting. So I had a question in email today that I failed to answer. I'm going to answer it right now. And the email posed the question. There's a nutritional philosophy out there that frequent eating never gives your intestinal tract, your digestive system, a rest. Because rather than digesting 3 meals a day, if you digest 6, it's like instead of doing 1 or 2 workouts a day, you're doing 3 or 4. And the tissue can actually get fatigued from having to absorb so much and never get rest. So, there is a certain credence, there's a certain value to that philosophy. If you continue to eat all the time and never give your intestinal tract a rest, then you can make it work less efficiently. You can not deteriorate it, but cause inflammation, right? So grazing is not healthy. What we say at the TriSystem Center is, cows graze, don't be a cow. So, have intermittent meals that are balanced such that you will properly digest the meal and then go into an empty state. And when you're in that empty state, you'll actually burn fat and burn body fat. Right? So the meals that you eat need to be small enough such that before you eat again, you're actually using body fat for fuel. Okay. This person exercises. She said she does 4 weight training workouts a week and 4 or 5 hour walks a week, averaging, and she's relatively fit, averaging about 500 calories in exercise. Right? A lot of personal trainers and a lot of people who think they know fitness say, I can eat what I want because I can just exercise away the deficit. I will exercise to the point where I'll just raise my metabolism and I'll be able to eat what I want. Even a relatively fit person can only expect to burn probably around 500 calories. Most people who are less fit, let's say you can't make it through an hour of vigorous exercise, you're not going to burn 500 calories. Now, how are you going to burn pounds of fat off if each pound is 3,500 calories? If you can't burn 500 calories from fat a day, it seems impossible to be able to burn a pound or 2 pounds of fat a week if I can't accumulate 500 calories of fat use in a day. Because the way you eat will actually burn more fat than the workout itself. The workout will create a calorie deficit that will roll over into fat utilization during recovery. So if you eat correctly, you will intermittently burn 200, 300, 400 calories of fat in between each meal, waiting for that next meal every 3 to 4 hours, and leverage your workout. So exercise, as well as meal frequency, stimulates metabolism. And if exercise stimulates metabolism until you sleep, then you're better off exercising earlier in the day, and then each meal after you work out will actually improve your fat burning because you'll be in a recovery state as well as a semi-fasting state in between the meals. And you can verify this If you really want to look into this deeply, a PhD, John Berardi, in Canada, is a sports nutritionist, and he's written a document. He's accumulated information on intermittent fasting. Now, on a side note, with intermittent fasting, the question would come up: should you work out in the morning on an empty stomach to burn more fat? And this is specific to your metabolic state. So if you have a slow metabolism, or if you're just starting out, or if you're eating 2 or 3 meals a day to start, to wake up on a long fast and immediately work out is just going to exacerbate an energy imbalance and a nutrient imbalance, and you're going to actually move to slow your metabolism down. A fasting workout early in the morning is only beneficial to those that have consistently eaten 6 meals a day on a schedule for a long period of time, because their metabolism will rebound from that 6 to 8 hours of fasting plus a workout, right? So, if you're new to exercise, or if you're not eating as good as you should, like most people, you should break your fast before you do your workout. If you're an established athlete with a high metabolism, then that's a strategy to burn off a few extra pounds of fat. Okay, so we got to figure out how many calories you need to eat a day, and the software does that for you. Then the average amount of meals we're going to eat are the traditional meals: breakfast, lunch, and dinner, because most people eat those. What's the most important meal of the day? Breakfast. Okay, most people know this stuff. Hopefully we're reinforcing stuff you know, and hopefully you come away tonight with something new. That's the goal of this hour. So this says 5 meals. So where are those other 2 meals? Well, the best place to put them would be right before or right after a workout. Is it freezing in here? Are you guys cold? Can we turn that air conditioning off? It's right there. The thermostat's right there. Can you just turn it up to the point where it stops blowing? I see people shivering.
Have the short person do it.
So, the best time to add in another meal would be in between breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and it would be best around your workout. A post-workout meal really helps with recovery, really helps with your mood, and can influence immunity and influence the pace at which you gain muscle or lose fat. So post-workout meal would be my first choice, unless it's the first thing you do in the day. If you work out, I wake up and I work out. So even though I consistently eat 5 to 6 meals a day, I still break my fast at 4:35 or 4:45 in the morning before I do my workout, so that I can stimulate metabolism and not induce an excessive deficit. So 5 meals a day: breakfast, lunch, dinner, pre- and post-workout. There it is. Now we'll get into a strategy. How do we distribute those calories? Can I eat all carbohydrate one meal, all protein one meal? Can I save up and have my fat for dessert at night? Unfortunately not. Right? So the key to this thing is balance. So the name of my company is TriSystem. This is one of the main trichotomies, one of the main tri-systems is eat protein, carbs, and fats every time you eat. So an apple is no longer a healthy meal. And almonds are no longer a healthy meal. They're a healthy component of a meal. They have to be mixed together. So every time you eat, you need to eat protein, carbs, and fats. And we'll get into that in some subsequent slides. And then how do we distribute those calories over the course of the day? The easiest thing to do was to say, okay, she's burning 2,100 calories. I'm going to put her on an 1,800 calorie diet, 1,800 calorie nutrition plan, and distribute that over 5 meals, 1/5 each meal. And what should be the pace that she eats? Well, there's 24 hours in a day. If you sleep 8 hours, that means you're up for 16 hours out of the 24. If you're up for 16 hours and you equally distribute those equal meals over the course of the day, that means you're eating every 3 hours and 12 minutes from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed, with a 3-hour interval before you go to sleep. Which brings up another myth. You ate after 7 o'clock? Oh, you're going to store that meal as fat, right? There's no like curfew for eating. There's no time, right? It is The physiological facts are this. Your body can absorb nutrients in your intestine 24 hours a day, but just like we said before, it's good to give your body a little bit of a rest. What your stomach can't do is digest nutrients when you're in a deep sleep state. So if you eat porterhouse steak and immediately go into a deep sleep, you're probably going to have nightmares or improper sleep, right? Because at the deepest levels of sleep, your body goes into a state of paralysis to allow things to recover. So, give yourself an adequate time to digest big meals, or eat a meal that's easily digested if you're going to eat close to going to bed. All right. Now, there are a bunch of meals that already meet these parameters in your system once you've done the analysis, but you can totally manipulate the system and use the system for food logs and make your own menus in here. You can just click nutrition, then it'll actually show you what's laid out. The orange are rest day meals, the green are actually workout days, and you can go in and look at them meal by meal by meal. And the cool tool is, who wants to do math, right? Break out the calculator, try to figure out, okay, 9 calories in a gram of fat. Let's not get into that. The basic rule of thumb, and this can vary, everybody's different, but the majority of people will see a benefit from eating 30% of their calories in a meal from protein, which is relatively high protein compared to other diets. 50% from carbohydrate, that's fruits, whole grains, and vegetables, and 20% from fat. This is an ideal ratio when you're on a calorie deficit because some of the protein you eat is going to be used for fuel. So you eat a little bit more protein than if you were at a steady state where you didn't want to gain or lose fat. So 30% protein, 50% carbs, 20% fat. And the software balances it. Here it is, within 5%. This is within 5% or so. This is a salmon meal with sun-dried tomatoes, some brown rice, some raw spinach and garlic, and some carrots. And it sounds nutritious, right? What if you hate salmon? You can list it as a dislike, and the system will put it in there, or you can go in there and change it. You just click this little edit button and say, I want chicken, or I want ground turkey, or I want Jack in the Box. Okay. Let's talk about the fundamentals of digestion to kind of validate what I'm saying here. Right? Let's talk about nutritional principles that are practical, that'll help you. If you just do some of these things tonight, you'll see a difference tomorrow and the next day. And you'll burn fat more efficiently. So the goal of this program is to increase nutrient absorbency and decrease the likelihood that you store what you eat as fat. And it starts with chewing your food. You're supposed to chew your food to a paste. Most of my clients don't even do that. But you're supposed to chew it because the stomach, this thing, after you swallow, this is where the food goes. The stomach's job is to take and liquefy what you eat and turn it into a thing called chyme. Chyme. The way I remember it, I'm from New York, I just think of an old Jewish grandmother. She would call it chyme. Right? Chyme. This nasty stuff that you don't want to see again. Right? Okay, so ultimately, your stomach liquefies what you eat so that the intestine can deliver it to your blood, and then your blood delivers it to every cell in your body. So how well you chew your food influences how well your stomach does its job, and then thus how well you get your nutrients. Just because you eat a nutrient doesn't mean that you're going to get it to the cell. Just because you eat something doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to get to the cell. Right? There are 3 factors, another trichotomy. There are 3 factors why your stomach, or how your stomach will do its job. The 3 factors are the size of the meal, so if you eat everything at once, or if you eat bigger than your stomach. There's some studies on volumetrics, or studies on the volume of certain organs. Assuming your stomach's not stretched out, assuming you're not a bariatric surgery candidate or patient, the average person's stomach volume is 2 fists together. Right? So if you fill your plate bigger than 2 fists, you're probably overfilling your plate for that meal. Right? 2 fists. Right, all the way down to your wrist. Right, so that's around the volume that your meal should be. Right, so if your meal is 300 calories, and you say, well, I can eat 300 calories in lettuce, that doesn't mean you eat 5 heads of lettuce because it exceeds the volume that you can eat, and you don't have the right nutrients. Right, So one is the size of the meal. The second is how hydrated you are. Other holistic health practitioners, naturopaths, have this theory to eat the meal dry. Eat your food dry. The reason they say that is that you're going to dilute the digestive juices in your stomach and thus affect maybe the pH balance of your stomach. I disagree. I'm a sports nutritionist. Most of us are dehydrated. If you exercise, you're more likely to be dehydrated. I say wash down your food with calorie-free fluids. That doesn't mean Splenda or NutraSweet laced fluids. That just means fluids that are mostly water, maybe diluted juice. Okay? So stay hydrated. Water in your stomach is actually going to help the catalysts and enzymes mix with the food. And water is neutral in its pH, so it shouldn't dilute the acid to the point of making it ineffective. The last is the ratio of protein, carbs, and fats. So let's say, okay, I'm going to leave this nutrition seminar and I'm going to take my wife out and eat something really healthy. Sit down in the restaurant. Oh, this looks good. Macadamia nut crusted salmon, basted in olive oil, sauteed in olive oil. Sounds pretty good, right? And those are with some slices of avocado over the top. It's mostly fat, even though it's good fat. It's mostly fat. And as your stomach liquefies a meal, a fat, if you go to a biochemistry, who here has taken organic or biochemistry? Anybody endured that horror? Okay. Well, if you sit through that class, you wind up drawing molecules. If you draw a fat molecule, if I was on a chalkboard right here and I was going to draw a fat molecule to scale, I would be writing just across the board. It would be a freight train. So a fat molecule is this big, long chain, and then it would be like a freight train. And if I was to put a protein molecule next to it, it would be like a smart car. If I was to put a smart car compared to a freight train, and if I was to put a carbohydrate next to the protein, it'd be like a moped. So even though these things have relatively close nutritional values, a fat molecule takes up more space and provides a lot more calories per gram. So it takes longer to digest, it takes longer to liquefy lipids, certain types of lipids, right? Like saturated and trans fatty acids, those are unfavorable. They're solid at room temperature. They're not naturally liquid like unsaturated fats, like olive oil is at room temperature. It's a liquid. Nonetheless, these things take time to digest. Proteins and carbohydrates take less time to digest. Therefore, if you eat something higher in fat, the proteins and the carbohydrates hang out in the stomach. The pyloric sphincter, the little valve, stays closed until everything's relatively liquefied, and things can be burned in acid past the point of usefulness. So if you eat something too high in fat, you're actually lessening the likelihood that you're going to absorb water-soluble vitamins, proteins, and carbohydrates. Now the reverse also occurs. Let's say you eat no fat. I'm just going to have a salad, no dressing, and some fruit. Well, now the types of molecules that the stomach are looking to digest are not there. It realizes that proteins and carbohydrates digest very quickly. The valve opens up, and you can actually push food that's not properly digested into the intestine. And especially if it's fibrous, now you're missing out because the food wasn't fully digested or liquefied, and it will pass through your body without the chance of your body using it. So, decades ago, when I first started this, there were ratio diets were more popular. There was the zone diet, there's no magic ratio, okay? Just eating a consistent ratio actually gets this system more proficient at doing its job, and you know what's coming. So how do we minimize the likelihood that you get plaque on your intestine and all kinds of intestinal problems? Minimize the likelihood that you store what you eat as fat. Eat protein, carbs, and fats every meal, and preferably that ratio of 30% protein, 50% carbs, 20% fat. Any questions on that? So there are schools of thought, especially in Southern California, that say that this needs a constant cleanse. We need squeaky clean intestine, and that's not the way we were physiologically designed, right? Our bodies need intestinal flora. If you eliminate those intestinal flora, or you change the pH of your intestine, you actually inhibit its function and can become dependent on the therapy. So cleanses and colonics that are therapeutic in nature can become dependent if you take them and you don't need them. I think they're medical procedures. So don't go out and get a coffee enema because the herbalist told you to do so, right? Right? If you need an enema, it probably should be done in a hospital environment because you got a block. You get severe problems.
I have a question, Jeff.
Yes, ma'am.
So if you were going to have a meal as a smoothie, with vegetables and nuts, so it's already, you don't chew it, maybe you have protein powder and raw peanut butter or something inside of it, so you got all the components. Is it, because you didn't chew it up, is it still need that, whatever that word was you said?
It's actually going to be converted to chyme. It's just closer to it, right? Right? If you've been lucky enough to see a meal you've already eaten, in other words, it returned for another visit, right? If you vomited in your life, that's chyme, right? And the reason it's so vile is it has acids in it and enzymes to help break it down and liquefy it. When you drink a smoothie, if it's got fiber in it, the time it spends in your stomach is minimal. A smoothie is a great thing to have right before you go to bed because it'll be out of your stomach by the time you're asleep.
So what were those percentages again?
So 30% by calories, 30% of your diet, a third of your plate should be some kind of lean meat, low-fat dairy, fish, or chicken. 50% of your diet, 50% of your plate should be fruit, vegetables, or whole grains. And 20% of your diet should be some kind of unsaturated fat, an oil, olive oil, a nut, or it could be in the fish, or it could be in the avocado, that kind of thing. 30, 50, 20, protein, carbs, fats. Now the cool thing about this is, what if I don't want to follow a menu? What if I'm in the mood to have some spaghetti, or I'm in the mood to have a specific food? Well, now you can go in and create a meal around that food to meet those parameters. If you just go in here and click analysis, you can put the list of foods into the list of foods into the software. Click analysis, and it will actually tell you the nutrient content of the food. Now, the cool thing about this is I developed this software, and we've been doing this for years and years and years and years. So I have a database of thousands of nutrient intake we've analyzed, and thousands of menus we actually have made, so that we can draw inferences from this data. In other words, most likely I know what you're deficient in now because there's common nutrient deficiencies even in today's nutrient-rich society. Most people don't eat enough protein. And a good analogy to understand protein, carbs, and fats, if you're like, what the heck is a protein? What the heck is a carbohydrate? And why do I need fat? I want to get fat off my body. Why am I going to consume fat? Well, my kids love this Cars movie. It's been out for a while now. It's still on Disney Channel. They throw. Let's imagine your body's a car, right? So depending upon who you are today, you might be Mater, you might be Lightning McQueen, you might be Sally the Porsche. Depends on what you think of yourself. But you're a car, okay? Protein is the metal in your car. So protein is a structural component. Protein is what your body's mostly made out of, protein and water. Water is a dominant part of your body, but the structural stuff, the bone, organs, muscle, are protein, right? Protein is what keeps your eyes white, your eyes bright, your teeth white, and your skin tight. Right? So an inadequate amount of protein, like in this meal, she should be eating between 15 and 40 grams of protein. She's within it. It's black. Everything that's black is in range. Everything that's red is out of range. Carbohydrates are what are in the gas tank. Right? If carbs are gas, then there's better gas and worse gas. So if we could afford it today, we'd all have premium in our car. Right? It would make it run better. Right? The difference in premium and regular gas is octane. So keeping with that analogy, sugar is octane. So there are diets out there that say no sugar, no added sugar. That might be a good rule for some people. But completely no simple carbohydrate in your diet is going to negatively influence performance and body composition. Around your workout, you need some kind of simple carbohydrates, some kind of natural sugars. Because sugar is like octane, right? So a little bit of octane is going to actually make you run better, right? But if we took your car to Miramar Air Station and put J5 jet fuel in it, it would kill the engine. It would burn it up. Turbine engine fuel is not meant for a piston engine. Right? So too much sugar is a bad thing. What's the limit on sugar? Sugar should be no more than 25% of your total carbohydrate intake. Fat. What's fat in your car? It's what's in the oil pan and what lubricates the joints. So we need lubrication for our lungs, for our intestines. We need things to not grind and have friction on them. Right? Fat is also a building block of hormones. We all need hormones. Lack of hormones causes problems. Right? So we all need testosterone, estrogen, insulin, growth hormone, adrenaline. We need these things. Fat and proteins make up hormones. Saturated fat makes food taste good and it's a fuel. So we don't need much of it. But without it, food might not be that pleasurable. Mono and polyunsaturated fats are components of our body as well as fuel. So they're unsaturated. In other words, the way to, let's go back to biochem, the way I remember unsaturated and saturated, think of your body as a jigsaw puzzle. Unsaturated fat has multiple docking stations, right? So monounsaturated only has one. Poly has many places you can actually put that puzzle. Saturated has none. So it's either burned for fuel or stored. So polyunsaturated fat's better than saturated or other fats because it can actually become a structural component in your body like testosterone, estrogen, and insulin. Trans fats or man-made fats, they kind of are more prevalent now because there was no deep fryers in Garden of Eden, right? But now McDonald's has oils set at boiling temperatures for hours and hours and hours and hours, and what happens in that environment is we create these damaged fats, these not poly, but these hydrogenated oils. That's other fats. So too much of those can cause cancer, heart disease. They're not good. Same with too much saturated fat. Cholesterol. Our body manufactures cholesterol, so we don't need to eat it. So too much cholesterol in our diet is bad. Most people aren't eating a high cholesterol diet. Fiber. There's two types of fiber. This is a chart for a female. Women need to eat about 25 grams of fiber. The USDA or the FDA says men should eat 38 grams of fiber. If we were all to eat 38 grams of fiber, we'd probably be eating tree bark every meal. It's just way too much. But the prevalence of heart disease and cancer in men is higher than in women. So women have a lower standard. They also tend to eat less foods, thus need less fiber. What do we need to know about fiber? It's crunchy stuff. You need crunchy stuff in your diet. Fiber can be broken down into soluble and insoluble. Soluble actually gets into your veins and cleans out things like saturated fats, lipids, cholesterol. Insoluble fiber stays in your intestine and keeps that clean. So fiber is like a toothbrush for your intestine and your vascular system. You need a certain amount of it, right? If you eat liquid diets or you eat highly processed foods, the amount of fiber that you eat goes down, right? So you can use the software to see whether you're in the range. And it's simple as this. You don't need to, I'm giving you a nutritional lesson here, and I don't expect you to remember all this, but if you actually put in your food or look at a menu, you can say, okay, where am I deficient? Where am I out of range? Where am I in range? And you can correct it. Simple as that. Let's look at vitamins. Vitamins are water soluble, and you can look at that when you do an analysis of a meal or a day. The majority of people, I promise I'll only go 5 more minutes. I have more information than I have time. The majority of people are deficient in B vitamins. Look at this person's all red. B vitamins are common in whole carbohydrate. Why are carbohydrates bashed as the fat-causing food right now? One, because America is sedentary, and the only way to really use carbohydrate is if you're active. And two, most of the carbohydrates we eat are processed. That means that a lot of this is removed. And in order to process carbohydrate, we need more B vitamin. So we need to eat sources of B vitamin. We need to make sure that we get all the B vitamin. One, to manage carbohydrate properly and not store it as fat. And two, for our mood. B vitamin influences creativity. It influences coping mechanisms and strength. When you're highly stressed, your body uses up B vitamin. You need more. Most people are deficient in vitamin C. You need at least 1,500 milligrams a day. Vitamin C is not only instrumental as an antioxidant, but it's instrumental in skin elasticity. If you're deficient in it, your skin may sag. And if you're trying to lose body fat and you lose it quick, right, you might have that skin falling over the edge of your belt. You might have a deflated muffin top. That's no good. So let's have some vitamin C, right? Let's have some vitamin C to try to bolster the skin elasticity. Even in older adults, you can bolster or improve skin elasticity with proper nutrition. I can get into electrolytes, but I'm rapidly running out of time. But the software helps you with electrolytes. And maybe we'll do an online seminar or a video talking a little bit more about electrolytes and electrolyte balance. Now, you can use the software and do this yourself. If you're not a computer wizard or not a numbers guy or hate science, then you can come to us, come to affiliates, come to me, and we'll do it for you. Right? Most people who just think this is all too complicated will have a program developed. And what we do is we'll actually take your food logs and in the dietary analysis here, we'll make a pretty chart and say, here's where you're deficient, here's where you're eating surplus foods, and then write menus that put you in balance based on where you're at. So if there's a hamburger on your menu, maybe we'll keep it there, but we'll balance it. Right? So a general philosophy about nutrition that you need to take away tonight is no good or bad foods, just bad portions. Right? 25 years ago, the nutritionists would say, here's your good food list, here's your bad food list, stay away from the bad, eat the good. Once you told me it was bad, I wanted it more. All right? Little sidebar here. For those of you that have a biblically based faith, there's motivation on Facebook towards this program, Bible-based motivation at facebook.com/Jeff Carmen. I post my devotionals every morning. Now, the reason I brought that up is let's talk about good food, bad food. Right? If you've ever read the Bible, let's open to the first couple pages. Right? In Genesis, the whole thing, the whole fall, the whole mess up of the human race started out with, don't eat this. And we did. So it doesn't work. I can't say don't eat this. Because if you're anything like Adam or Eve, you're going to say, you know what? I want that. I know better than him. Okay? So, it's no good or bad foods, just bad portions. If I'm craving a chocolate chip cookie, you know what? I think about that chocolate chip cookie every day until I eat it. And you know what? I had one today and it was great. Did I have 15? No. But I had one today. No, I don't need it anymore. Previous winners. We have one in here. But remember, this is what you can do if you get a good handle on your nutrition. There he is, the man. He's in here tonight. And no matter how brightly he smiles, just know in the back, he's thinking, I'm going to kick your butt in this challenge, so you better watch out. Paul is a good competitor. I love when he does the challenge. She's wearing the same pants she started in. And here's somebody that was with me, is still with me over 7 years because she doesn't want to do that process. She comes in and I write her 3 new menus every month. She doesn't want to count calories. She doesn't want to know if she's eating high potassium or low potassium. She says, Jeff, this is what I've been eating. What can we eat? So she uses me for that very process of developing this. All right. I'm sorry that I'm going over. 2 more minutes. So, if the fundamental process of losing body fat is to decrease calories so that your body makes up those calories, if you decrease the amount of food you eat, you also decrease the amount of nutrients you consume. So you decrease the vitamins and minerals. How do you enhance or increase the amount of vitamins and minerals you consume without increasing calories? You supplement. Right? Now, I developed this supplement because over the last 10 years I've been giving people botanicals, groups of herbs, and it got to the point where I was giving them 6 different herbs or 2 different tri-complexes. And I should probably do a separate seminar to just tell you exactly what's in here and why it's in here. But there's an antioxidant or protect you from the harmful factors of overtraining or from your environment, protect you from the smog you breathe in every day, protect you from the water you drink every day. So there's an antioxidant complex that's going to try to promote longevity in this, and then there's a hormonal complex that's going to try to put you in the mood to exercise and keep you optimistic while you're there, while you're trying to do that. And we've just got an incredible amount of result from this product, and it's something that I invented from the ground up. It's just 6 naked herbs in a tablet. I would love for you guys to take it, and all throughout the challenge, it's actually going to enhance results. Remember to log what you do with your professionals. Blow up my phone, it's fine, right? The more points you have, the better chance you have of winning. Right? You can log with more than one affiliate, and make sure you keep a track of your own points so that we can keep each other honest. All right, if you're not a member of the challenge, you can tonight for $149. Right? Tonight's the last night you can do it. I'm going to do body fats. I have to do the body fat for those that join tonight, because tonight's the last night to get it. If you'd like that nutritional workup done for you, you don't want to do it on the software yourself, I strongly encourage you to do it. I built the software. I use it every day. Right? But if you want me to do it for you, it's $299. If you want me to change it, right? If 12 to 18 meals are not enough for you to eat and you want variety, you can come to me for follow-ups throughout the visit. This is a program and 4 follow-ups where we change and add to your battery of menus, add to your battery of workouts. Edge is really good. They're telling me to charge this. A single bottle is $41.99, but tonight, if you want to buy more than that, you can save money. A lot of money. And I could go on and on and on, but I've talked for about an hour and 10 minutes. Any questions? Yes, ma'am?
On days that we don't work out, should we take the Edge?
Yeah, so on days that you don't work out, you shouldn't take 3, but it will enhance the nutritional value and the stimulant response of your coffee without raising your heart rate. So you'll actually get more energy out of 1 cup of coffee if you take it with it. So take 1 on rest days. Take 1 when you wake up, 1 at noon, and 1 early afternoon. That'd be the max that you would take. If it was a high energy day or a stressful day, I would definitely take it. Right? You have to go to court to pay a traffic ticket. Take your Edge. Right? If you have a flat tire, take your Edge. It's going to help.
Can you take Edge near bedtime?
You can take it near bedtime because it's not
Not a super.
it's not technically it has a little bit of caffeine in it because there's green tea in it. So if you're really sensitive to green tea, it might inhibit sleep. But for most people, I designed it such that you could take it, you have a late night workout, you can take it and go to sleep. It makes you alert and energetic, but it doesn't raise your heart rate. Any other questions? I'm sorry I put more information in there than I had time for, but we're just starting the challenge. So that gives me an opportunity to give you another blog post, another video, some other source. So do your logs. Need some motivation? Go to my Facebook page. If you need help with the software, we're here for you. Thank you very much.